Hello and welcome to the short Vort on Parshas Pinchas. Once again, we will focus on Shevii, the Parsha, which in this case discusses the holiday of Succos, as well as the holiday of Shemini Atzeres. And in Perchav Tes, Pasuk Lamed Hey, the Pasuk says, "Bayom Shemini Atzeres Tielachem." On the eighth day of the beginning of Succos, that will be a day of restriction for you. It won't be Sukkos, but there'll be things you can't do, basically what we call Yontif. The Aznaim LaTorah, which is written by Rav Zalman Sorotzkin, as brought down in the Yalkut Lekach Tov, says from this pasuk we can learn how to deal with the Umos Ha'olam, with the Gentiles. And with this, we need to preface it with what the Vilna Gaon says, that on Sukkos, which is what we discussed in the Sukkim after Chav Tes Yud Beis, here we bring 70 karbanos for the 70 umos ha'olam, the classic original 70 nations of the world. And we see the remez here to the core, central, fundamental two nations of the world. That is Yishmael and Eisav, or today it would be Christianity and Islam. And all the different nations came out as a derivative or were connected to these two main nations. And we can see it. An interesting thing in the Psukim here is that in certain Psukim, the Korban it describes as a Seir Izim, and in other Psukim it says just Seir, both of them meaning he-goat. So the Vilna Gaon says from this we have an interesting analysis, that Seir Izim is talking about Yishmael, and he's called that way in the Psukim elsewhere, as well as Eisav is Seir, Har Seir, so the Edomites, and so it says Seir is referring to them. And if you count up in the Psukim of Aleph, Beis, and Daled, so there it says language of Sirizim, and there were correspondingly this many Karbanos, 13, 12, which is 25, and 10. In those three Psukim, it's 35. And then in the remaining Psukim, it says language, and that corresponds to Yishmael. And the remaining Psukim of 3, 5, 6, and 7, so it says the language of Seir, which is Eisav, and that adds up to 11 plus 9 is 20, plus 8 plus 7 is 15, together is 35. So we find that it's exactly evenly distributed. So what we're supposed to learn from this is that we're not supposed to take sides with the other Gentiles against each other. You know, Rav Sorotzkin says even in the decades back when he was alive, when it was East versus West, or if today it's Christianity versus Islam, the Jew is supposed to stay separate. As it says that Am levadat yishkon v'gayim lo yischashev, that the Jews are always separate, and we're not supposed to be like the other nations. We're not supposed to take alliances with them. And Rav Sorotzkin then concludes that this pasuk that I mentioned in the beginning, Bayom Shemini Atzeres Tielachem, is telling us that the first 7 days that you're doing for the other nations, but for this day the korban is just for you, just the Bnei Israel, because you're separated, and you shouldn't take sides with the rest of the nations. Good advice, I think. Thank you for listening. Have a wonderful week and a wonderful Shabbos.